Good days. Boom and boom.
Welcome to the Good Days podcast with Eddy and Charlie. And it's good to be sitting here chatting with you, Charlie.
Oh, yeah. Always good.
Always
good, Doc.
It's a blessing. Hey, I've got some listener mail.
Oh,
Okay. And this one is from one of our good friends,
okay.
Russ Gonzalez.
All right.
The one and the only.
That's right.
Okay, so
Russ.
this is actually, he listened to our podcast with Stacy. Okay, remember that? We did a couple podcasts with Stacy.
Professor Stacy Shaw, Pastor
excuse
Stacy
me.
Shaw.
Professor, Pastor, Reverend Stacy Shaw.
Yes.
And this is what the email is. He's super kind in this, okay? He says, hey, dear friends and colleagues, just wanted to reach out and say kudos to the three of you for your episode about shepherding your leaders. That was golden music to my ears.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on, he says, and I'll say this to Eddy and Charlie in front of a witness. Stacy's our witness. But you guys have got a really great podcast. Your chemistry, your voice for radio, must be talking about you.
Whatever.
The interaction, the topics to guess. Hope this thing goes viral. And it may have already gone viral. Love and admire and respect all three of you immensely. Blessings to you. That was nice of him.
Very cool, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's
Thank
a
you, Russ.
dear friend that goes way back with both of us.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
we love Russ Gonzalez. So shout out to Russ as well. Thank you. Appreciate this. And by the way, make sure, if you don't mind, go and leave us like a quick little thing. Send us a note on email or text us.
We'll read it if it's nice.
All the emails that was cussing us out, we don't read. All the emails say, you're wrong about that. What were you guys smoking? We don't smoke on this show.
Or anywhere.
not just the show, but anywhere.
Yeah.
That's good. But, it's been a while since we've been together. It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, Doc. I mean, yeah, it has been, but for you, man, this has been a tough season for you.
Yeah, it actually has.
I mean, there's a reason why it's been a minute.
Yeah.
But, man, you just walked down that road that I know a bunch of our listeners have walked. I've walked that road where you say goodbye to a parent.
Right.
And so your mom passed, and you just preached the funeral.
Yeah. And it's really interesting when you go through the different stages of when your parent gets older. Because your parent is, obviously someone you look up to, you admire, has poured into your life a lot.
Right.
And, my mom was old. She was 99 years old when she died. She was about a month and a half, 2 months away from being 100. Yeah. And the whole thing about a life well lived, a life lived for Jesus is incredible. And to know, like when you preach a message at a funeral, we both have done this several times. It's way different to preach a message at a funeral with someone who has lived this long, incredible life than a life cut short. And it's way different when you're preaching at a funeral to someone's life that is in heaven and someone that you are not quite sure where their destiny is. And so it was a celebration of life, and it was just an incredible time for me and my family and sisters, and all my kids came back for the funeral. And, she has left this in phenomenal legacy. We're talking about 7 children, 5 of my sisters married pastors. I've been in ministry my entire career. There are 26 grandchildren, and then there's like 54, 56 great grandchildren, something like that. I think 56. So she has 99 direct descendants. We're talking about 99 direct descendants. Doesn't count all the in-laws and all the people the grandkids have married and all that. We're talking about 99 direct descendants, and that's an incredible legacy of not just the number of people, but that almost all of them are following Jesus wholeheartedly. Like they are a disciple of Jesus Christ and walking with Christ and growing in that and pursuing the Lord with all their heart. And that is really the legacy that she leaves behind.
And you think about that with your family, all the 99, and then all of a sudden you have a bunch of adopted kids like me,
Yeah.
where I felt more like a stray back in the day, where I'd kind of wander into your house.
Yes. Yes.
And your dad and mom.
Which was awesome.
Next thing you know, it's like, you look like you need something to eat.
Yeah, right. Charlie, you staying for dinner? You bet I am.
It's like we didn't have the meal plan where, you'd be done with meals and there's still 2 days left in the week. And your mom and your dad, I mean, they adopted people like me all the time. And next thing you know, it's like, Mama Shigley, Helen Shigley is this lady, Doc, your dad, Doc Shigley. Like, next thing you know, it's like, I remember go out and playing tennis with your dad.
Yes, exactly.
And just the investment they made in a lot of people. What a legacy.
Well, my parents were really generous. And as you know, Charlie, we had so many college students living in our home, eating at our dining room table, or around that bar, that was right there by the family room there.
Yes.
And they're just so generous. They're generous with their hospitality. They're generous with their words, encouragement. They're generous with their money. They're
Hold
generous
on. I always got fed at the bar. I never got the kitchen
You
table.
never got to the dining table.
Come on.
That was next level, bro. Sorry. It was where the real food was cooked.
Yeah, I'll take the
I'll take the scraps.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But they were just really awesome, really cool people who loved Jesus a lot and loved others, and did that well. When I looked up the word legacy and what does it mean, and it's when a person has a long-lasting impact on others, and they didn't just have a long-lasting impact on me, but they had a long-lasting impact on a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is, and I really believe this too, that our number one people who should be discipling our children are the parents. Like, the parents should be the number one discipler of kids, of teenagers. And so as they poured into me, I then have invested, and my wife, we have invested in our children, and hopefully they're going to be investing in their children. And that is one way to spread the gospel and to make disciples of the kingdom of God. And they did that really well. And they weren't perfect. Like, obviously weren't, at all. And you probably saw some of that too. But we had a healthy family. They had a healthy marriage, and they were pursuing God.
You just described something that is very, very difficult. I don't know of a parent that wishes they couldn't do it better.
You're
I
right.
wish I could do this differently. I wish I could do it better. I wish I could go back in time. There is nothing, I think, more difficult on the planet than
parenting.
Than parenting.
It is. It is really hard.
It challenges you.
And it reveals things in your own life that you're like, oh my goodness, this needs to be refined in my own life. And parenting brings that out even in your life. Now, it shows a lot about your children, but it shows a lot about yourself too.
And one thing that happens with a lot of people who are listening to our podcast, they're early in that season. They're not in that season yet.
Yes.
And we'll tell you that it never ends. Parenting never ends. It doesn't matter once they're out of middle school or high school or college. You're constantly parenting and investing. And what can you do today that is better than what you did yesterday?
Right.
Now, clearly, when they're 5 years old, 4 years old.
Oh my goodness.
It's
It's all hands on deck.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
But you might have to discipline for doing something wrong, and they cry, and then they wake up the next morning, they just hug you, and you're the greatest.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, there's that day where all of a sudden, you say goodnight, to your daughter, and everything's great, and they wake up the next morning, and it's like, you're an idiot. You're the worst ever.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I don't know why I thought this, but I thought that once he turned 18 and we sent him off to college, we were kind of done. And we both have, all of our kids are adult children. And man, the parenting issues just get bigger and more complex and crazier as they're adult children. And parenting does not stop. You're exactly right.
And it's a continued opportunity.
It is, to speak into their life.
I can't tell you how many times like I've said I love you to my
Mm-hmm.
kids, or had deeper, more honest conversations than ever before
Yeah.
about everything.
Yep.
Like failures of the past, like, as a father, I wish I would have done this. Or
Mm-hmm.
in fact, you know what's crazy
It
about
gets really
this?
vulnerable when you have adult children, you know, and
Yes.
you're apologizing for some of that stuff in the past.
It's easier to pastor somebody than it is to parent them.
Right. That's really good. Yeah, I'm going to tweet that later today.
I mean, it is, because everybody sees it inside. That's why I was so amazed at the funeral, Doc, when you're preaching your mom's funeral. And what's weird is I sent a note to you and to another one of our friends named Steve Anderson. His nickname is Big House, and his mom just passed.
Mm-hmm.
And the note was, you can honor your parent incredibly well by the way you celebrate their life.
Mm-hmm.
You did that so well at the funeral. In fact, could you go back really quick? Because there's a couple things that you said. You had several points on areas of honoring and how you think back about your mom's life. Could you kind of just hit some of those highlights?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to hit a couple of them, but one of them is my mom. We've already talked about the hospitality
Yes.
thing and how generous she was, and
Yes.
adopted so many different college students and even kids in the neighborhood and things like that. And so I think that's one, the idea that my parents really looked after the orphans, the widows, those who were poor, that were disenfranchised, and they were just looking to help people. I think another one, my mom was, I think the positive, encouraging K-Life, I think they got that slogan from watching my mom's life, because she was incredibly positive and encouraging nonstop all the time. I mean, it's just go, go, go in terms of like speaking truth and life into our lives was amazing. She loved to laugh, and her laugh was contagious. It was amazing. And I think there's a lot of benefits to laughter. There's medical benefits, there's psychological benefits, there's spiritual benefits to that, because she had this incredible like joy and love and hope. And when we have hope of eternal life and the promise that Jesus gives us of eternal life, man, we can laugh at a lot of things. And we can even laugh at the difficult things in life, because we know that this is not our home.
Yeah.
That we're called to be ambassadors of Christ in this world, but our home really is in heaven. And she recognized that all the time and learned to laugh at herself, learned to laugh, at the joke, even when it was pointed at her, or, or with her. And she was just amazing at that. And then I think the other thing was that she was willing to have spiritual conversation with her kids. Like, she wasn't shy about entering into that space and asking, hey, Eddie, how is your spiritual life? Have you been spending time with Jesus? How's your marriage? Like, how are you treating Esther? And she's willing to go into that space. That can be awkward questions and tough questions, but she really wanted to be a true disciple of Jesus and then to disciple her kids. And so it didn't matter what time of the day or time of the night it was. She was always willing to listen to us, to be there when we're crying or when we're happy, but then to listen and then ask really good questions. And then from those questions came the advice. So the advice didn't come first. It was listening, asking good questions, listening more, and then the wisdom followed.
One thing I picked up at the funeral, but I don't know if you said this exact story. In fact, I don't think so. But your mom was resourceful and knew how to take advantage of all kinds of things, simple wins. In fact, tell me if this is true. You know what I remember? And I'm going someplace with this, so don't think I lost my mind. Your mom was kind of short.
Yeah, she was.
And your dad was tall.
Yep.
So he's tall, your mom is short.
Yep.
I remember.
My mom was 5'2".
I remember this story, and we're talking a long time ago, that your mom was sharing how she would buy a dress, and because she was shorter, she'd cut the hem on her dress to the right length and then make a tie for your dad.
Yes.
So that when they went to church, they matched. Is that true or false?
That's true. It's extremely resourceful.
How cool is that, though?
One of my favorite memories about my mom, and again, this was a little bit older. She was a little bit older. So she was 99, and I've been here 10 years, and Trey was a freshman, so 12 years ago. So she would have been 87. And they did a homecoming chapel at IWU, and they wanted to recognize families of 3 generations that had been here as students at IWU. So they had my mom, myself, our oldest son, Trey. They had Wilbur Williams and one of his daughters and one of their sons on the stage, and they're asking us questions. And she talked about that mom and dad were married at the time, but that dad was her PE teacher. And I made a joke in chapel and said, so, Mom, are you telling me you were sleeping with your professor? And the audience laughed like crazy, right? And with just a serious face, she goes, yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I got an A in the class. And everybody lost it. She took it next level. I was like, flirting around with the edge, of the conversation. And she just took it to the next level.
Bro, what are you talking about the edge? Like you're jumping off the cliff. What do you mean flirting with the edge?
The funny thing is, like, she stole the show, man.
Yeah.
Trey and I are there. Wilbur Williams is there, just like legends, and she just stole the show.
Wilbur
amazing.
would be like, Joshua not knowing what Jehu had done. And Helen, what story is that?
That's really good. That sounds just like him.
Oh, that's cool, bro.
Yeah, it is
That's
cool.
legacy, man.
It is fun.
What a beautiful thing, because like there's a lot of people that have to search out legacy in other areas besides, that incredible story that you have.
Well, and it is cool, and we will always be marked by how moms have impacted us. And Charlie, we've talked through the years. Your mom she's passed on to heaven several years ago. Just made a huge impact on your life, and she left a legacy as well. This long lasting impact. So tell us a little bit about your mom and how she influenced you.
So my mom was very different than your mom as far as the personality, but not the depth. My mom was this amazing person. She was valedictorian in her high school class.
Nice.
And the University of Syracuse School of Nursing.
Whoa.
In fact, the joke, and I never knew this early on in life, never knew this until way later. This came out, when she was really, sick, filled with cancer.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, these things, came out that she purposely got an A- because she didn't want to give a speech.
She didn't have to get up there in graduation and give a speech.
So she did it on purpose.
So she tanked.
She tanked it so she'd just be the salutatorian.
Oh, wow.
And so this brilliant, amazing woman who was meek. And so in immaturity, it's like you think that, well, meek means quiet and weak. Not true at all. It's actually amazing strength to be meek, to be humble like that means that you are very strong. And she was an incredible influence of what it is like to be a person of character and long suffering. And I'm not going to go any deeper than that.
Yeah.
But
What year did she die?
2003.
Okay.
We were in San Diego at Skyline, and conversations were about coming to IWU and all that. And she was sick, but we didn't expect her to pass that fast. And 66 years old.
Wow.
And
That seems really young now. I mean, as we're getting older, those years seem very, very young.
well, you think that your mom passed at 99.
99.
I mean, that's all those years that you have with somebody. But what I learned in all of this is,
And for the grandkids to get to know her, too. I mean, you're just
Exactly.
missing out on some of those opportunities for her to influence your kids in a and I'm sure she did significantly, but in an even more significant way.
and that's the thing about legacy is when you have this spiritual force, this person that really can identify with grandkids and kids differently, because every one of us is different. And so when you think about your children and how your mom connected with your kids, and Anna is so different than Noah,
Right.
or Trey, and you keep on thinking about that. That's what I miss. I wish I wish I could listen to a conversation with my son Nick and my mom. Talk about, or Nate or Emily. I mean, she was this vivacious reader. For fun, my mom would grab a book and she would just read it. She was just that way and had that gear.
Right.
And that skipped me. I mean, I'd have to read a book 4 times to comprehend what it said. Nick and Nate, they pick up a book and their reading retention is just like my mother's.
Yeah.
Just incredibly
Out the
gifted
roof.
that way. And so, but what she left, the legacy, was how to love people in the midst of pain. It goes to a podcast that we did a while back when we were working actually with Davey.
Yeah.
And he was talking about suffering, and we mentioned John and Lisa Bevere. And if you don't learn to forgive people in your life, that unforgiveness really hurts you. My mom taught that to us in an incredible, beautiful way. So
she gave you the gift of forgiving others, and she
Yes.
demonstrated how to do that.
yes,
And not just one time, but throughout her life. That's powerful because when we don't forgive, we've seen the consequences with our friends and others.
this is kind of silly, when we think about all of our different relationships. But my wife, Joy, she will say, you don't ever remember the bad stuff. And, she's joking around, but in some ways it's like she's not. Because in our head, it's like, what's the point? I mean,
Yeah.
you learn your lessons from things that are tough, but at the same time, it's like if you hold grudges, if you hate, if you linger into that pain, like Davey would talk about, or my mom, then it hurts you. And the freedom to do ministry and to connect with people and to sleep at night. I mean, so she was this amazing influence. So we talk about legacy, and we see that in 2 people that are really, really important to us. But really, Doc, when I think about it, for me personally, I see that in you. So for me, I remember coming to this place and seeing, a person that was like, that you look up to. And I see a person that I wanted to mimic. And I was so honored. You will not even know this, but the day that you asked me to be your intern at JC Body Shop at College Church, as you're the youth pastor, and to me that was like this amazing validation that, if I can be on Eddy's team, and so for me,
Talk about good days.
yeah, those are.
That was really fun.
I was terrible. It's like
we both were, but we were doing it together, which made it worthwhile.
leading worship with a keytar, singing Pharaoh, Pharaoh. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't want to be a casual Christian by DeCarmo and
DeCarmo
Key.
Key.
I don't want to be a casual Christian.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like, but they were like, those students were so easy. I mean,
Yes, they're gracious to us.
very gracious.
Let's
But
put it that way.
so for me, it's like I'm really grateful that I see that in my relationship with my mom, but I see that in my relationship with you, and that I think people are listening to this podcast. Identify people in your life that are legacy relationships. People that's like, wow, I can learn and grow from. And we had no idea what would happen, because as soon as, I graduated, I'm off, to Virginia, and then you're off, traveling the world with,
Right.
with,
with the missions department.
the missions
doing
department. I'm
Australia
trying to
and-
think of the name of
Yeah.
that movement.
Yeah, it was Isaiah 6 project.
Isaiah 6 project.
Yeah.
And so, you guys are gone, and, then all of a sudden our paths would cross,
Yeah.
and then we'd go
Waiting
away
for a while, and then
you'd
they'd
go to
cross again.
Texas, I'd go to, San Diego, and then all of a sudden they cross again. But the legacy doesn't go away. The commitment, the relationship, that didn't wane. And so there are people in our lives that we need to look to and say, you know what? I'm learning and growing from my relationship with them. And whenever something would happen in my life, I knew that I could call you.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I could call Cooge.
Mm-hmm.
There's several people that I just can make a phone call to, and I can bare my soul. And with legacy relationships, you can do that because you know everything about me.
Mm-hmm.
You know all my hurts, all my pains, my concerns, everything.
Mm-hmm.
I can share my hopes and joys and dreams with you
Right.
because you don't judge me or like hold that against me. It's kind of strange, but you can't really share your dreams with a lot of people because they really can't carry that.
Yeah.
You know, so when we share our dreams, it's like, and I feel as somebody that's my mentor, at the same time, I feel I have an advocate. And you had an advocate with your mom.
Yeah.
I had an advocate with my mom. I feel I have an advocate with you.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You're being way too kind,
Yeah.
Charlie, and I appreciate that. I have a couple of takeaways. First thing is back at you in terms of our friendship. But for you to be in youth ministry your entire career, that is extremely unusual. To have a 35 years plus in youth ministry, and you've stayed there. We had a conversation yesterday about decisions we've made in the course of our career and how things would maybe look different if we would have made different decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If we'd taken this job or that job, what would have our life looked like, or what would have our career path look like? And you made a commitment to stay in youth ministry. And that has impacted the Wesleyan Church youth ministry in a very, very significant way. And I think that's part of your legacy. You as you're going to have another book out on youth ministry coming up, just a promo plug, you got to get it. Again, you are leaving this incredible, indelible mark on the Wesleyan youth movement. And that's phenomenal. When we look back, when we first became youth pastors, all those people are gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, gone as in not dead, but they're no longer in youth ministry.
Right.
They have moved on to other forms of ministry, or they're not in ministry at all.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to stay the course for 35 plus years in youth ministry is part of your legacy.
Right.
And you have made a significant, long-lasting impact on dozens and dozens and dozens and probably hundreds and hundreds of youth pastors through the years. And so thank you for that. My second takeaway is to our audience. I want you to think about, Charlie and I want to encourage you, how can you have a long-lasting impact with the people you are serving right now? Okay, what does that look like? And I think about the pastoral staff you're serving with. Think about the congregation or the constituency that God has given you right now, those that you are discipling, those you are mentoring, those you are coaching. Can you live in that for a while, for a season, to have a long-lasting impact? And the thing that I have seen is that when we do not go deep with people, our impact is shallow as well. And so we have to encourage, we just want to encourage you to stay where you're at if you can, right? Because that will serve you well with this long-lasting impact. And then do not, don't be shallow with people. Be willing to ask the really good questions and sometimes hard questions and challenge people in their faith, because in doing so, God is using you to have this spiritual legacy that will last a really, really long time.
Yeah,
and I look at my mom's life, your mom's life, and there's this old saying, this quick little saying that says, only one life will soon be passed, but only what's done for Christ will last. And may that be what serves us here at Indiana Wesleyan University, where God has put us right now, but may it serve you where you're at in your local church.
Doc, I've heard it said that, and this is classic too, just like that, but 90+% of being successful at anything is just showing up every day.
Yep.
It's being faithful.
And consistent.
Yes.
Obedient.
Yeah.
To what's right in front of us.
Yes, just be faithful.
So we want to encourage you to continue to be faithful.
Yep.
Love you all. Boom.
And boom.